tapering for BJJ competition. Stop making the mistakes. Do it right, and you'll perform better when you compete. We got to talk about this. This question comes up pretty frequently because there is the common mistake that people train really freaking hard up until like 1 or 2 days before the competition. And actually, it's screwing your competition performance. And I want to break down exactly how you can prepare for BJJ competition.
Yeah, it's a bit of a mad scramble too, because it's your coach will often tell you like, hey, you should do a comp, and it's like your first year of jiu-jitsu, and a lot of people do that, and your comp might be some old school cat that's giving you some outdated information, and then before you know it, that just kind of establishes your approach to competition.
Yeah,
and you got no idea if it's a good approach or not.
No, and this is actually brought up to me just through some DMs on Instagram that said, oh, everyone in my, we've got a comp in 2 weeks. Everyone's training really hard. And they're saying, I'm feeling really banged up. And I feel like, this is literally what they said in the message, I feel like I might get injured before the comp. and I honestly believe it. I've seen it many times where I don't know if you've done this, Joe, where you're kind of aware of who your competition might be, and you're like, I wonder who shows up. And then maybe on competition day, you think, oh, that guy didn't show up, and that guy's not here, for various reasons, whether it's they got sick or they got injured. And this is a classic thing in MMA as well, where they're training so hard, they're cutting weight, and then somebody, they kind of crap out, and then you never see them. And this is an issue. So, I mean, even myself, I was really shocked when I first trained with the Alliance team for their first big camp, my first big camp with them back in 2011. They were training really hard up until about Wednesday, and the competition started on the Friday for the World Championship. And they were destroying each other. And I was like, this makes no sense, because what I'd learned when I trained at the New South Wales Institute of Sport and then had gotten mentorship through the Victorian Institute of Sport was you needed this specific kind of window of about 2 weeks where you're gradually reducing your volume. You're keeping a certain amount of intensity, but you're doing certain things that allow your body to heal, and you're allowing yourself to show up the freshest you can be on the day, even if you're trying to make weight. And it just seemed like people in BJJ just didn't give a fuck about that. And I was like, that's so strange.
On that, like with the Institute of Sport, were they making that sort of claim in regards to a specific sport? Or was that
so
like
I was doing
comp generally?
Well, I found that it was true for many sports. Like for me, it was Taekwondo. So still a combat sport, still had to make weight. So there was still a certain amount of calories you had to control, water you had to control, certain amount of energy you had to burn every day. So it wasn't that it was like, oh, do nothing. But for example, one of the key things with the weight training was it reduced total volume, still did a couple of heavy sessions, but there was more work on plyometrics and nervous system response. And that was like a really important thing. And that I found that really hard to do because I had FOMO. I was like, I don't feel like I'm doing enough.
Yeah.
And I think for a lot of people in BJJ, if they're used to training every single day, you say to them, hey, maybe don't train every day. They're like, oh, but I'll get worse. Someone's training harder. Oh, I'll fall behind. And I think it's just because people don't really properly understand that you're not actually going to get a lot fitter the week before comp. Like 10 days before comp, you're not getting dramatically fitter. And you're also not getting dramatically stronger. You actually, anything you do at that point could just actually fuck up.
Could be jeopardizing
the previous, months of work.
I hear. I got two takes on it, because the from a sports science perspective, we understand that tapering off and having, essentially having some rest and giving your body time to recover is the best thing to allow you to perform at your peak, right?
Yeah.
But, if I'm thinking about like early days competing for myself, or what I've observed in most of my, friends who are competing, especially when they're early on in jiu-jitsu, competing is just an extension of training. And
Sure.
you love, like, training is why you do jiu-jitsu. You love showing up to the gym and training 2, 3, 4 times a week. And then coach's like, yeah, come to the comp, Matt. And so before you know it, you're doing this comp. And then, coach's like, hey, take it easy this week. Let's say, because my first coach was a bit like that. taper off kind of thing. But it's like, didn't give me anything to occupy my time. Didn't say, hey, instead of showing up to the gym, what I want you to do, I want you to come to class, but I want you to, let's say, do some visualization. I mean, do the warm up, do some technical stuff, drill your A game with someone, hit that for 30 minutes, feel sharp, and then just sit down and do some visualization, right? Or go for a fucking light jog or something.
Yes.
But it was like, yeah, no, to like let your body recover. So for me, I remember quite like those feelings before comp, like of comp week, where you're like, well, I'm not going to go to the gym because I shouldn't be training. So what the fuck am I going to do? So you end up, I don't know, doing some other shit, sitting at home watching TV, and then showing up to comp and being like, I actually haven't put hands on anyone for like a while. I feel a bit rusty here or out of time.
Sure. And I think that's definitely not, that's not what I'm encouraging, right? Like I think, yeah, if you don't have, for lack of a better option, maybe that's what you do, but that's not what we're talking about here. I feel like the mistake here is people just really don't understand what is going on in their body on a chemical level, And so in the same way, you shouldn't be maxing your deadlift every week. You build up to a certain point, you would have a lighter week before comp so that your nervous system is fully recovered to produce maximum force on a particular day. Now, obviously, powerlifting, strongman, all that is very different to BJJ. But if we're talking about maximizing energy, even if we were to look at like distance running, like marathon runners, they will work really hard up to a point, and then they'll be carb loading. So there's no weight categories in marathon running, but they are maximizing as much carbohydrate in their system as possible to make sure their liver is restored, their muscles are restored, so they can go out and put out a maximum effort. Now, if you're somebody who is going to a local comp and maybe you've only got 2 or 3, matches, then maybe that's okay. You don't have to think about a taper so much. But if you're somebody who's like, I want to do my weight, I want to do gi and no gi, I want to do the absolute. These are big days. Like we all know that
it's long and
how exhausting that
tiring
can be. So what I wanted to do in this chat is just kind of just talk about a couple of probably 3 key things that can help someone feel better on the day for competition just by making a few small changes. This isn't about taking the week off.
Right on.
So I think the thing which we've all experienced in competition is like you have your first match and like your forearms, like pretty much, you get so much adrenaline and your forearms just pump out, and it doesn't matter if gi or no gi. That first match kind of, it makes or breaks the day. You get through your first match, you win, then the day can continue. You don't, the day's over for most people, depending on the competition format.
Well, they're the only 2 outcomes.
I know, but what I'm saying is,
if it's a round robin or
but
something.
I'm saying you don't need a whole bunch of. What I'm talking about here is you need to bring your best to the first match, or it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
You don't need endurance for the rest of the day if you don't get through that first match.
Yeah.
So you could be as fit as you fucking like,
Well,
but if you just get poleaxed, then
true, but it's the same for every match, isn't it? Like if you win, you got to bring your best for the next match too, and like.
But speaking to that is, I think, I mean, I don't know if you have experienced this, Joe, but I definitely have, that the first match is the hardest.
Yeah.
Because you haven't had
at your peak stress.
Yeah.
They're at their peak stress, so they're strong as fuck.
Yeah, everyone's fresh, so it's this high intensity feeling. So to be able to like deal with that, combat that, it's super important that you have your most energy. You don't want to be rocking up tired, even though you might get through. It's, we want to maximize energy. So reducing total training volume and reducing training. When I say intensity, I mean like the thing that was always pushed with us when I was doing work with professional S&C coaches through Institute of Sport was, it wasn't that the intensity was low. Like we still had to work like proper pace, comp pace, but the rounds were much shorter.
Yeah.
They didn't allow us to really get tired.
Volume reduced.
Massively reduced. So weight training was reduced about 40 to 50%. So we still did heavy reps and we did fast reps, but instead of doing say like 6, 10 reps, it was just like 3 or 5. And you felt a bit weird because you come out the gym going,
cut the reps down.
Cut the reps right
Kept the
down.
sets the same.
Yeah, and so really this was in the name of keeping the nervous system fresh.
Yeah.
So yeah, the body still had a chance to do some work. The muscles are reminded of how they're supposed to function and really stay explosive and stay strong, but not with fatigue. And really that stopped. So we had a 2-week taper. We only really did 3 weight sessions. Like we did two weeks out and then 1 weight session the week of competition, plus some plyometrics, like some dynamic jumping, explosive work to keep that that feeling and that connection. But I think the problem for many people is, even though you might be used to training every day, it usually takes about 3 days to fully recover from hard training.
Yeah.
And so what I'm trying to encourage people to do here is that, hey, like if you know that your competition is Friday or you know it's Saturday, you want to give yourself at least 2 days grace from no like sparring or hard sparring.
Yeah. So go back. You were talking about reducing volume.
Yes.
In the days leading up. So just clarify that.
So
for the punter who's like, oh, I'm competing on Saturday,
reducing,
and I'm lifting weights and I'm training jiu-jitsu regularly.
Yes. Overall, you would look to reduce your total volume. So if you would normally go to the gym and roll and do 5 to 8 rounds, say, that's your usual amount of sparring. You would actually cut that to only 3 or 4. Or if you're used to training for, say, 8 or 10-minute rounds, cut it to 4 or 5. And even though that might feel like, oh, I'm
a tease.
Yeah.
You want it to feel like a tease.
Yeah, you want to feel like you've got a bit more in the tank, because that's what you're trying to do. Because what is actually the point of winning the mat, at your gym, but then showing up tired on comp day? And I was actually surprised when I went to Kazakhstan and I was working with the Team Allione guys. Those guys, I mean, apart from Gianni Gruppo, shout out, who wanted to do every round plus more, because that's just like, he's got so much energy, that guy. Everyone else was like very chill. They would do whatever skills they needed to practice, maybe 3 rounds. No. PJ Barchi didn't even come to some training. Like Big Devontae, 3 rounds, got what he needed. You know what I mean? Like it was much more of a, obviously they've trained for 10, 15 years, but I think for all the individuals, they knew the amount they needed to just feel right.
Yeah.
And that wasn't, it was.
You dial in over the years, don't you?
Yeah. And relevant to the weight training, like I was saying before, you're not actually getting stronger in that moment, but, I need to max out. You're actually really just kind of, like locking in the skill.
You're kind of maintaining. You're kind of like, you're kind of letting the body know like, hey, remember, this is our level.
Yep.
But you're not going beyond that.
No, because actually that will result in like a deficit and then you not being stronger on the day.
So for someone who's lifting weights, same thing, right? Like cut your sets in half.
Yeah.
Yep. I would say, like cut your sets in half or more, like anywhere from, 50 to 60%. But you want to walk out of that weight session feeling like you could do it again. Same with the gym. I think a nice way to look at it is like, some people use this for eating, is like when you finish your meal, you should feel like you could eat the meal again.
Yeah, eat a little bit more.
That's kind of the idea.
Yeah.
Because if you're coming away from that meal feeling stuffed, now you've just taxed your digestive. It's the same thing, right? You've put now load on the body. So yeah, and I think for a lot of people doing it for the first time, this will feel really odd, because what you're used to feeling as a box tick for like, train jiu-jitsu properly, or it was a good session at the gym, you're used to feeling fatigue. And that sense of fatigue is like, I did a good job.
Yeah.
We're asking you to stop before that.
Yeah, it's hard because you have that positive association, like, that's what I need to feel like.
Yeah.
In the same way, I think for some people, they feel like their muscles need to be sore for them to have done a good weights workout.
Yeah.
When that's actually the opposite of what we're trying to achieve here. And like, so there was an example given, I learned this through doing like Charles Poliquin's like level 1 way back in the day. He had a famous athlete. I can't remember if she was a Canadian athlete. I think she was a thrower, and she had a pretty strict diet, I think, because I don't know if it was a weight class. Anyway, to the side. What the story goes that he said to her the night before her Olympic performance, she could eat whatever she wanted. Didn't matter. And she was like, what? Surely I should be dialing everything. He's like, no, you have a hamburger, you have chips, you do whatever the fuck you want. And she was like so blown away because he's so strict about her diet and the preparation, everything. Because the story, as the story goes, that the dopamine, the serotonin, all the satisfaction she gets from eating this food that made her happy meant she would sleep better, which means she would have a better performance the following day.
Yeah.
And I mean, obviously this is different if you're cutting weight, but I think what we underestimate is there is so much psychological stress with competition, especially if you're new to it, that even people who are not new to it, they feel very anxious before competition. That whatever you can do to take the edge off it, that allows you to kind of sleep better,
relax a bit,
heal, and show up feeling half good is beneficial.
Yeah.
And so if you are cutting weight and you're doing these things, you need extra energy to deal with the saunas and all the other bullshit and the hunger. And so by reducing the stress of training, that frees up a little bit more bandwidth for other stress that makes it more tolerable.
I mean, I'm sure I told you about my buddy Alan Romero, who did, he went and trained powerlifting in Russia for a period of time.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
And they did this hardcore sort of camp leading up to a competition, and it was the whole team doing the thing. And then the night before competition, they all got together and drank vodka.
Yeah, right.
And he was just like, what the fuck
what
are
the
we
hell?
doing? This makes no sense. And they were like, relax. They're like, the training is done.
Yeah.
Tonight we have some fun, and then tomorrow we win.
Yeah.
You know, and it was that, and it's the same thing, right? It's like us having a few drinks and like blowing off some steam here isn't going to undo everything we've done.
No.
I can tell you when I remember vividly my first competition. I remember being in my apartment at Bondi. It was Friday night, and the coach had told us like no sex, 6 weeks up to the comp,
Yep.
no alcohol, and so I'm like mid-20s,
Stressed.
single Bondi guy. I'm like, well, what the fuck else can I do? You know, and I just remember being at home and being like, oh man, can't believe I've got to go compete tomorrow. This is so hectic. Like, it was literally like I was fighting in the UFC. I thought it was the biggest thing in the whole world in my mind, right? And I'm sure that some of our listeners can vibe with this. And I remember watching UFC, and that actually really, because I was like, back at that time, you'd put on a DVD, and I put on a UFC event,
Yep.
and watching that and just enjoying it, and being like, it helped to reduce my stress, because I'm like, wait, no, these guys should be stressed. I'm just doing a community center jiu-jitsu comp.
Yeah.
Look at what these guys are doing, you know, and it really helped me kind of like put things in perspective. And I also remember waking up in the morning and being like, what the fuck am I, because I'd been running every morning to try and drop weight.
Right.
I got up, what the fuck am I going to do? And I went for a swim in the ocean and then fucking walked along the beach. And that was really good just to clear my head.
Nice.
So I think like some form of distraction, like going to the movies, like go do something
Yep.
fun is really good. Going for a walk or a swim, like just a bit of like really light movement, it just helps you to fucking like chill out a bit, because you are going to get in your own head about it.
Yeah.
And you're going to blow this thing up.
Stop wasting money on useless sports drinks that do not help your hydration for BJJ. You know what you need? You need Sodi. Sodi is the perfect blend of sodium, potassium, and magnesium. These things are what they call electrolytes, which keeps the water in your muscles to keep them working for better rolling. Now, they have all the flavors of the rainbow. It is the chef's kiss of electrolytes. And when you use the code Bulletproof15 at checkout, you go to sodi.com.au, you get 15% off. So not only do we save you money, but you also get the best product out there. Go to sodi.com.au and get it today. And that's the next thing I wanted to talk about, is this idea of a routine. Look, if you've never competed before, it's no big deal. But like you say, having some activities that can kind of pull you out of thinking about it too much is key. So the thing that we're encouraged to do is to similar, like, and I actually had a routine where I would always watch Gladiator. Always. Same movie. Because I just fucking love that movie. It's peak Russell Crowe, really. But it's one of those things that it's, you know it, but the familiarity calms you. And this is the thing that, like, the night before a competition, you don't want to be madly doing anything. And this is managing your own mind is one of the hardest things you can do in life, and it's typically we psych ourselves out.
Speak for yourself, cuz.
Hey, whatever. Hey man, you say what you like. I'm comp night. I'm chilling. I'm not stressing. I'm not fucking shadow boxing. Like, fuck.
No, I was talking about chilling the mind.
Oh,
This is one of the biggest challenges we face in life.
it is though. It is.
Sure, yeah.
It is for most people. I think we manage it in different ways. Like some people manage their minds with alcohol or marijuana or psilocybin. Right? It doesn't matter how you do it. We're all trying to manage our own minds. But adding competition is this stress. So if you have a routine, and that's the thing that I had learnt, which was to do kind of like a pool session, a sauna session, stretching, visualization, and then it was done. And then watch your favorite movie or do whatever you do. And that just allows you to just, for 90 minutes or whatever, not be worried about the thing. That then gives you a little bit of a break, and that allows you to then sleep and do whatever else you need to do.
Yeah, I'm going to say something controversial here, but
Please.
I also think like not doing anything radically different to what you'd normally do. And I'm just thinking back to my 20-year-old self. What I normally did was go out and smash heaps of beers Thursday, Friday, Saturday, sometimes Sunday night, right?
Yeah.
So I'd say like and I remember when I had a comp, I would not go out on Friday night. And so
Sure.
I'd be at home, which was odd.
Yes.
And, while I found ways to get around, I'm like, you know what? Maybe just going out going out to the bar with the guys
Sure.
and having a light beer or a non-alcohol, but not having 7.
Sure.
Just having one. Like maybe that would have actually, you know what I mean?
Dangerous.
Maybe. It is.
maybe.
Or, a fucking soft drink, a soda water or whatever. But,
Sure.
But like not doing something radically different, because that in itself is odd.
Yeah, for sure. No, the routine is key to keeping you calm. So if your routine is being around your mates, that's good. But I know it's very rare that someone goes, I just have one drink. Like it's never just one drink.
Just a little test.
We'll see.
Split the G.
And now, I think the thing is, I spend a bit of time looking in the mirror the night before competition. Sure. I think this is the next thing I want to talk about: skills. So even though there's been a big pushback in recent jiu-jitsu meta around drilling, one of my best performances was when I was a white belt, and I went to Brazil in 2009, and I went to the Rio Open, and the night before I felt really pent up. And I was nervous. I've never been to a big international competition.
At white belt.
Yeah, I was fucking freaking out, and we were in Rio. And so I got my room. We had mats underneath this old house. We were just staying under the shadow of Pedra de Gavia. The humidity is like 95%. It's whatever, July. And anyway, I got my Irish roommate to come down, and I said, can we just do some stuff? Because I just want to feel, because I didn't train the day before. The comp was on the Saturday, and it was Friday, and I was like, I feel so anxious. I need to just exercise to feel better in my body. So it wasn't rolling. It was just kind of going through some passes, some positions, talk with him a little bit, do some stuff. And at the end of the hour, it honestly wasn't, I sweated a bit, but I felt better because I had just moved my body.
Yeah.
And I think this is where, if I relate this back to when we did Taekwondo, we did a lot of like kind of shadow sparring and visualization and movement. And you see that a lot with other martial arts, whether it be wrestling, they do shadow wrestling, or boxers, because they are actually playing it out through their mind. And that's a skill practice. Even though that sounds strange, many different studies have shown that when people actually run the skills through in their mind, it actually enhances their skill performance. And so by taking some time to just not go through a full roll or do sparring, but just work on your skills, that means you don't feel that rusty, janky effect of doing nothing for a week.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I feel that people could, if they're not into drilling and you just wanted to do some constraints-based games, shout out DeAndre Colbay, like just being able to play And I think this is the challenging thing, that not everyone has training partners that they can have like a flow roll with. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and especially when you're like white belt generally, you probably don't really know how to flow yet, right? Like that takes time.
Yeah, it's its own skill.
Yeah, but I definitely think, yeah, like working through some positions and like even just reciting the stuff that you know, like side control, mount, north south, like just going through that stuff, touching the gi or touching the fucking rash guard, like all of that familiarity and the movement is like really valuable.
Definitely. And the last piece I want to put on this is just around the nutrition, because it is very different if you're cutting weight, right? Like if you are still trying to minimize the amount of fluid you're retaining, or you are literally trying to maximize like weigh in and then glug, 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 whether it's water or if it's day before, day before weigh-ins, people typically show up almost 10 kilos heavier the next day. But if you're not someone who's fighting the whole weight cutting thing, which is its own skill, I personally believe, really making sure, like you're saying, not changing anything dramatic, not eating some new crazy superfood or going on some weird diet just because you know you're competing. Like eating what you typically eat is your best option. Now, I tend to, like, when I spoke with Reed Real, who's the head of nutrition and dieting for the UFC Performance Institute in Shanghai, he said that you want to make sure that you're kind of eating more carbs and fats and you're really, he said, eat like a footballer, because you're going to, you shouldn't, so many people have, because carbohydrates have been demonized over time of like, water retention. No, like it's fine. If you don't, eating that carbohydrate and eating that fat is going to translate to you having more energy the next day.
Well, they've been demonized for Gen Pop, but not for athletes.
No, that's right. But I think a lot of people may have misconceptions, and eating a big carbohydrate-based meal the night before does a lot more for you, because that is what's in your liver the next day. A lot of people are like, oh, breakfast is the most important meal of the day. Actually, what you eat the morning of, it's not that it's not important, but having a really good dinner the night before the comp is super important, and making sure it's nothing crazy out of the ordinary. Like even if you've taken Joey's advice to go hang out with the boys, maybe have a light beer, whatever it might be, don't have a late night kebab. Don't give yourself food poisoning, because that could be...
I told you a mate of mine, Graham, who I used to train with, he was down at Coogee it was one evening, and he ended up on a mat on a Thursday or a Friday where Vanderlei Silva and his team showed up to do some training in preparation for UFC Sydney.
Oh my God.
And he didn't get to train with them, but he met them.
Right.
A couple of days later, I think the Friday night, he's down at Coogee and he runs into the team at Vanderlei and the guys. And they're like, hey, they remembered him and they invited him to dinner.
Right.
And they went to a Brazilian barbecue place.
Right on.
And he said, bro, Vanderlei just sat there and ate fuckloads of meat. And that's his thing, is like before battle, we eat a shitload of meat because he believed it made him like crazy and strong.
Yeah.
He's like, bro, the amount of fucking steak this guy put down was just sickening.
I think that was UFC 110. I might have been there. I think he knocked out. I think I remember that. It was just after his plastic surgery, I think.
Was that when Cain Velasquez fought Nogueira, wasn't it?
Yeah, he knocked him out with the hook. Yeah. I think he beat Bisping maybe.
Yeah,
he might have knocked out Bisping. And because he said, oh, look at me, I'm pretty. Look, he's just had his plastic surgery.
He looked so much better before.
Oh my God, did he ever? But respect to the champion.
Not to digress.
But that's the thing too.
But if that's your thing, right? Eating fucking 2 kilos of red meat, it's not my... I'm going to feel like shit for days. But if that's your thing, do it.
Hey, man, it worked for him, right?
Yeah.
And so this is the kind of last little thing amongst all of this.
Fuck, we're going long here, bro.
Come on, stay with me. Getting right. So the last piece of advice I have on this is like with this idea of keeping a routine, feeling good and showing up good on the day. Serginho Moraes, ghetto guy, a lot of people may have forgotten about him. He's 3-time world champion. He beat Romulo Barral in the final of the middle heavyweight championship 2014, right? Worlds. I know both athletes, but I got to see behind the scenes of Serginho Moraes.
Yeah.
The night before that comp, he had a large pizza, a large bowl of Pepsi, and like half a fucking cheesecake. And all the boys are like, "What are you doing? You are a madman. You don't eat this bullshit before." He said, "Nah, man, nah, like happy jiu-jitsu. I eat this, makes me happy, do good jiu-jitsu." That's what he thought. And he fucking, it comes down to the end. It's
He always had a big smile on his
6
face.
points apiece, right? Him and Romulo Barral is just fucking taking all his supplements and getting everything perfect the night before. He'd be weighing his food, and he was so disciplined, every day pour harder. That was that guy, right? That's his whole philosophy. So Serginho's like, "Oh, let's do a bit of fucking capoeira in the fucking hallway." He really knew how to get himself right. And in the crucial moment, he had the energy and the determination to win that match.
I think it was the cheesecake that got him over the line.
I believe it was. That's why I swear by cheesecake.
There it is.
But I think that's the thing. Once you've worked out what works for you, there's a good thing in that of establishing that and being able to stick to that as a way to get yourself right on the day.
Yeah.
And I don't believe that comes from training ultra hard to the last minute. Bringing in these methods of reducing fatigue, reducing total training volume, means you can show up with your best energy and therefore put forth your best performance.
Couple of beers, couple of cheesecakes, and then go tomorrow and fucking smash.
Vanderlei.